Well, in my view, I think net zero peaked about 4 or 5 years ago as a global agenda. Well, there was a phrase where it looked like, and Theresa May signed up to it in law because she thought lots of other countries were going to sign up to it in law, but they didn't. She just jumped on a bandwagon, as conservatives can sometimes do, to get themselves out of to pose as a campaigner, to be seen on the right side of history. And conservatives are very bad at diagnosing what direction history is moving in. So we then started to see protests, the Farmers' Party in the Netherlands, other European consumers, because what were once far away deadlines like 2030 all of a sudden become quite close. So you're thinking, hang on a minute, I've only got 7 more years to buy an electric car. I'm not sure I can afford an electric car. You start, I've got the government's going to force me to put in heat pumps. They're going to cost £15,000. I can't afford one of those. So people start to get really quite angry. And then you see the facts. That Britain's carbon emissions have gone down faster than any G20 country. Like, why do you really need to file on the pain? So I think we can see the tide turning. You've got Macron begging the European Union not to make any more green diktats. You've got Sweden's got a young, dynamic environment minister who's been rolling back their green agenda the whole time. You're getting a wider acceptance of nuclear, which to me is the obvious thing to do here in Australia. Ultimately in democracy, rational forces do tend to win out. And I think they just need to be encouraged a bit and for people to have this debate. I think for a long time, the net zero thing was all abstract, all hyperbolic. If we don't do this, we're all going to fry. But now it's getting into because things are getting closer, you can now start to use the language of trade-offs. I mean, to me, the language of trade-offs is a remedy to so many of the problems that I spoke about. If we are going to do this, then force the government to find out how much it's going to cost, and then force them to tell the voters. Because ultimately, a democracy, you cannot get elected if you've got an agenda that people don't want. And we're seeing now all over Europe the dialing back of net zero towards what I would call net sensible. There is a far better way of doing this. And I can see that dial being moved back. And it can't be so long, given that you guys have scored such a victory for common sense last weekend, that you come up with a follow-up victory on net zero.